You're listening to the Rebel Scum podcast.
You are always scum. Rebel Scum.
From odds making to list rankings, we've got you covered. And don't forget to join us on Patreon for early access and exclusive content. Here are your hosts, Brock and James.
You there, boy.
Me?
What day is it?
It's the day after the Disney investors call.
I did it. I made it through the night. James.
Brock.
What a time to be alive.
Right. Hello.
Welcome to the Rebel Scum podcast. I need you to tell you our names because we have to get to the business.
Can I show you something? Can I show you something? See this mask right here that my friend Marsha got me? This mask right here?
Yeah. Yep.
Old news! Nothing on this that matters anymore.
We have a new episode of Mandalorian to go over, but also the future of Star Wars has been revealed, and it is bright.
And so there will be spoilers in this podcast about today's episode of The Mandalorian. It just dropped today. We're going to talk about it today. The thumbnail won't be spoilery for it because, we don't want to ruin it for anybody that hasn't had a chance to see it. I will say this, though. I don't really think this is an episode you can spoil. This one was like a spoil-free episode in a lot of ways, I found. I mean, not saying that, you don't want to go into it not knowing anything, but I just found like there's nothing really to spoil in this episode.
No, it was a good episode, but it was back to the status quo of like, it's Mandalorian, let's do some action.
We haven't talked at all about this episode.
Yeah, to each other.
And I woke up at 5:30 today, not to watch the episode. I just woke up. And I laid in bed for a while, and then eventually, I think it was around 6 o'clock, my dog just wouldn't stop staring at me. She had a little mini operation yesterday. So I think she was just coming out of her sedation, like, what? But anyway, so I think at 6 o'clock, I said, you know what, I'm going to watch it. And I put it on, and I watched it. And I absolutely loved the episode. It could be, I know it's weird, because, like I said, I explained to somebody today, I said, I love this episode. It could be my favorite one to date. But it's not one I would make you rush to watch.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and I know it's like, that sounds negative, but it's not. It's like you said, it's like back to Mandalorian, but I think it was Rick Famuyiwa, I can't say his last name, but he directed this episode. And he did two of my favorites from last season. And I just think he might be my favorite Star Wars director as of today. I mean, as of tomorrow with all these announcements, who knows? But right now, so that's where I stood. But what was your reaction to this episode?
It was like, this is fun. It would have been nice to or no, you know what? No, let's forget about that. I think next week when we have the finale, then we can really evaluate the entire season. What I liked about this show was like, I think my reaction was they are not trying to be predictable. Mm-hmm. They're not pulling. They're like, I like to compare this to Game of Thrones in how like I get excited to watch this every Friday morning. But they aren't like, oh, so we're going to go do this. We're going to, Grogu's gone. So we have to go get him and we have to do this and this and this. Like, they're not forcing anything to happen when they don't want it to be, right? So like, I think this is a pivotal episode, but like, there's one more episode and there's like, what we haven't even remotely talked about this, and like, they're like, don't worry about it. We still got 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, because, and I think this is the thing, because, I mean, whether or not this happens, but because they announced it's going to be 4 seasons, you have that leeway of being like, okay. Like, and I think that's all it was, what show was it? Was it Lost? I never watched Lost, but it was one of those shows where they're like, you're going to end in this season. And they're like, great. Now we have something to build towards. And I think that's always beneficial for the storyteller because you know where you're going and you know how long it takes you to get there. And then people complain about filler episodes. I still don't think we get any. I think you get what you need. Yeah. Maybe the Frog Lady one is, you feel it a little bit, but every journey has detours. So I wouldn't call them filler necessarily. But yeah, it wasn't what I expected out of the episode, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was a necessity, and it put I think the crucial thing is it put Cara Dune, Fennec Shan, Boba Fett, Mando, and to a lesser extent Mayfeld together, and I think that was really probably the purpose of this episode, was to show them working, because down the road something's going to happen. People are thinking, I can't remember, somebody mentioned to me that, Fennec Shan and Boba, the bounty's gone up on Grogu. Maybe their end game is to get the baby themselves. Which the only thing is who put the bounty on the baby then? Is there somebody else working on this angle? Because otherwise the bounty's moot point, because Moff Gideon has, and he's the one that put the bounty on. So there are other ways to go, but it is a fun option, because again, they are bounty hunters. They're not, their moral code is different. But at the same time, Brock, if you want to give Boba Fett his own show, which they did not announce, but if you do want to give Boba Fett his own show, do you make him the villain?
I don't know. I feel like they're kind of moving away from that duplicitous bounty hunter thing. I didn't really think of that. I don't hate it though, because it's like Fennec Shan and Boba Fett and Tamora Morrison and Ming-Na. They're like, I want to see more, right?
Yeah.
Like what was your reaction to a newly painted Boba Fett armor? I was just like,
everyone all over the internet is talking about it. Exactly. I was like, oh man, he painted it. But I will say, I said this last week's episode, I had a soft spot for his wear and tear one. So I was a little bit like, but I didn't ruin anything, but I was like, nice, because I think you have to get there, right? You want him to look, this is a fresh, new Boba Fett. Can I throw something at you? Yeah. We're going to talk about this later. You have Rangers of the New Republic show announced. Yep. Very little information, but it's Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau are executive producing it. It takes place within the timeline of The Mandalorian. This one is said to team up with Ahsoka at some point. They're going to have like a big cinematic event type thing. And I just mentioned how I thought the importance of this was to show Cara Dune, Fennec Shan, and Boba together. Yep. Are those three our Rangers of the New Republic?
I don't think I considered Boba or Fennec Shan, but I'm like, yeah, this is where Cara Dune's going. I think I read like Bo-Katan's gonna be in it as well, or that it's believed she's gonna be in it. But yeah, like I feel like this is the whole setup of her getting that rebel police badge, and like, and I would argue the introduction of the X-wing pilot, Mr. Kim, in the Frog Lady episode is like, that's important for that reason, to set up this concept of like, I think if anything about this season, it's been a lot of setup for these spin-offs, and I think they've done it well.
Nothing has come out of left field.
No,
you've never felt like, oh, they're just doing that for an episode. But the Ahsoka thing, which absolutely worked, was the one time when Aaron was like, oh yeah, she's getting a show. Like, she was just like, there was no question. You and I did the Never Tell Me That. We got to look back on that episode, and we did Never Tell Me the Odds of Ahsoka being announced by Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't know what either one of us said. I can't remember, but we both said yes. I'm pretty sure we did. And it was fine. But let's talk about Mandalorian stuff. I just wanted to bring that up because for me, the importance of this episode seemed to be all that. But Rick, for me, my favorite Star Wars director right now, and I say that, watching the direction of the episodes and everything, it's just, he handles the action, the characters, everything so well, knows how to use it. I thought what they did with Mando in this episode, with his not showing his face and his mask and all that, was perfect. But Brock, how does this episode end?
He takes the mask off.
No, but it ends with Bill Burr being set free.
Okay. You went from...
Yeah. But he has seen Mando's face now.
Yeah. Well, they left him in a forest.
Yeah, but there was a lot of ships there. But that is something that could potentially come back later on in the series.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. That didn't really faze me, because it felt like this episode was establishing that
yes,
not everyone is evil that you kind of like, even though like they're like, well, you used to be Imperial sharpshooter, right? He's like the Imperial version of Cara Dune, and it's like, oh yeah, he's the bad guy. He's a bad guy. He's not. He's gonna betray them. But then when you have that scene where they're in the mess hall with that Imperial officer, it's like, oh right, he's a bounty hunter. Like, or he's not part of the Empire, because if he was, he would be on a base like that. Like, you know, he obviously doesn't fully agree with the Empire, or like, right? So I was like, oh, cool. I took it as like from that episode that like they silently had a respect for each other. That just like, we all have a past. James, I want to tell you something crazy I did today. After I was done the episode, I freeze framed those menus he was looking at when he was trying to when Mando had to go and do all the security code things, and then he had to take his helmet off, right? Nothing huge revealed, because I was like, ooh, just like with Boba Fett. Like, so I translated all the Arabic. It was mostly just like a menu, but it's on my other. I'm on the different computer.
We should tell everybody you're at work right now. You're on lunch break.
I'm at work. Yeah, this is where the magic happens. It basically, it was mostly like ID. Please enter your ID, and then like access granted, access denied. So I kind of flew into Arabic now. But there's a menu that comes up which inevitably shows him like the Grand Moff Gideon's cruiser, and then the coordinates for where they are right now. That's how he's able to sort of like figure out. And I'm sure he probably sees a little bit more. But there was a menu where it was like it's like a typical. It literally was like armory, personnel, all like stuff like that. And he's selecting the very, very bottom. There was one option that didn't make any sense. When I translated, it said S forces, which I took to mean special forces. So I don't think this reveals anything. But the question is, how is Mando able to get himself scanned into the system? What were your thoughts on that?
I think it just needed a face. That's what I think. I think the code, whatever he put in, was the key, and the face was just to show like maybe it can't be a droid stealing the information. I think that's what it was. Because that thought crossed my mind as well. It didn't make sense that he could. Well, are you thinking bigger?
Well, he was saved by Death Watch in Clone War era. When we're not quite sure, I'm sure they've figured out a date. I don't know do they know how old Mandalorian is, the character? So like, let's say it's somewhere in the Clone Wars, right? It could have been, and now we know he's part of Death Watch, even though we didn't like compute that like, oh yeah, the Death Watch is the villains. Could he be in Death Watch at the time that like the remnants of Death Watch are with the Empire? Am I getting that right?
Okay.
Like, what happens in Rebels when the group of Mandalorians join the Empire?
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Is that Death Watch? And perhaps could he have been involved in some way? Because that's the thing. And maybe this is the reason why we're not talking about Din's history, because it seems like there's there's a big theme of characters with these pasts that don't want to talk about their past. Cara doesn't really want to talk about the past. She doesn't want to get involved in the New Republic. Mayfield's like, screw the Empire, even though I agreed with them. Like,
well, whether he agreed, I mean, Solo was part of the Empire too, right? He was an Imperial as well.
Exactly. So maybe I don't know. It's just weird because like I was able to translate everything and it made sense. Because it was just, it's legit. Like if you're watching a movie, 24, and he's looking at like the girl that always looks at the computer, it would just be that stuff just so on the screen. So it's nothing like, it's not saying like this is where we keep the Wookiees. Like, but the fact that it said S forces is just interesting to me. Could be nothing. I don't know. I spent an hour trying to understand Arabic.
But it's a good point because that crossed didn't cross my mind, but the idea that how would he be able to get scanned? I thought they needed Bill Burr to get scanned. That crossed my mind. And then I quickly was like, yeah, it's Star Wars, I'll let it go. But you bring up the only thing that would have added to that is if you would have been like, you're going to get caught. But I guess that would have been too much of a tell to the audience in that respect.
Yeah.
That's a good point. We'll have to keep our head down and listen to them for that one. Because I think you would, but I guess you're suspecting we're going to learn more about Din's past in the seasons to come.
Yeah. I mean, it could work because it's sort of, that is one of the things that's missing in this season where it's just like, you've set up this idea that he was a foundling and he's part of the Death Watch. And then you're like, oh, right, Death Watch was the bad guys. And then he doesn't really understand that there's another group with like Bo-Katan or the actual Mandalorians. And now we know that like Jango Fett and Boba Fett are considered foundlings as well. I didn't really have that in my headcanon for them, but I guess it's
no. But now, no, I don't think it was. I don't think many people did. I think that was brand new information. I think that show brought to light, and I think it adds to the characters. I think.
And I like how they're dropping that, but you know what I mean. So I'm just throwing that out there because it's like. This show doesn't just randomly do things. You know what I mean? And do you think that's accurate? They don't just like, oh, who cares?
No, that's the one. I think I was talking to somebody about this. I think the one thing that a lot of fans, especially, are appreciating about the show is the care and attention to detail that it brings every week in every story. And you might not agree with it all. You might not even enjoy half of it, but it's showing that they care and they respect everything. And the one thing I was saying this to. I was talking to Andrew because our ranking Star Wars is happening January 1st. Thanks to everybody that submitted your rankings. They are bonkers this year, Brock. Bonkers. A lot of fun though. Like it's awesome. It's just awesome to see how everybody is, everybody loves Star Wars, so there's no wrong answer. But it's just, I was saying like, it's this respect for what has come before and respecting what in the time on Mandalorian would come after. They don't pretend like midi-chlorians don't count. They embrace them and they're like, it's M count. They don't pretend that Snoke doesn't exist. They're like, or Palpatine's return isn't anything. They play along. They're in this sandbox. They're given all of the sand and they're like, well, let's just use it. And like, how do you use it? Well, we'll do this. And they build like these sandcastles in it. And because of that, I think as fans, we appreciate a lot more. Casual fans will see it and they might be like, oh yeah, that was in that movie. And they have like little moments. And it's the respect to the franchise as a whole that I think helps string this whole thing together.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, it was a great episode. I can't wait to rewatch. Yeah, I think you're sort of touching on at the beginning, like the action in this episode was just awesome. Like seeing this stuff, it's like, oh, this is what we would see in like cartoons or comics. Yeah. Now it's real, like
it's these we've had like 4 episodes of Battlefront the game this season. Like I'm like, I want Mando in Battlefront, just do it. But everybody would just complain. But like that's what it is. Like TIE fighters come out, I'm like, this is awesome. Yeah.
Like the concept art you see at the end of every episode is like, oh wow, they actually made the concept art happen. I love that fight on that whatever the truck was that they were driving to sneak into the base, or Rhodium.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Why does Star Wars? Why do these vehicles need tires? Why do they keep I was like, what if one pops? We drove over a nail back there. Pfft, damn.
But like, what an action scene, and it's just like so many things could have gone wrong.
And then stormtroopers actually killed people. They hit their target.
Oh man. To throw you that we didn't get any follow up on like what happened with the Razor Crest, like. There's no like, where's my ship is gone. It was just like, no, we got to get the kid first.
So I've heard I've heard people theorizing that the Razor Crest it was kind of like, oh man, like there's a lot of them. It was manufactured quite heavily. So he's not too concerned. I also think, that was shocking to me last week. But he had a moment last week. And I feel like because of where he is, the Razor Crest was an object. He's after a being. He's after Grogu, Baby Yoda Grogu. And that's more important to him. So his mind isn't on the Razor Crest. He had his mourning period. Now we've moved on. But how awesome was it seeing the Slave 1, Slave 2, Slave 3? I don't know what slave number it's at right now. I don't know. But how awesome was it seeing that flying and then being inside of it when the windows were like how awesome was that?
It was great. Like, it looked bigger than it looks like in other movies. I love that. It's just like, because everybody knows it's like it lands like this, but it flies like that. Like, it was so great. I loved it. I loved it so much.
And when it dropped the bombs from Attack of the Clones,
yes.
It was awesome.
Did it even make that noise?
Yeah.
It kind of did. It was a little muted, I found.
Well, I think the atmosphere caused it to be a different sound. I feel like because of everything around it, because in space it was very silent, whereas this one there was TIE fighters and there was more sounds coming at it. So that's what I thought. But I was just like, again, the respect and attention to detail that has come before it. You don't pretend that the prequels don't exist. You don't pretend the sequels don't. You embrace them, and then we're given candy at Christmas.
I almost found it jarring to talk to an Imperial officer for that long, that whole conversation, but it was so perfect. It was just like, oh yeah, this is exactly what we need. Yeah. Oh yeah. Operation Cinder. I was like,
and like, you don't need to know what Operation Cinder is. You got all the information you needed. If you know more, you know more, but you got all the information. And how good was Bill Burr's acting during that scene?
Oh yeah.
Like, he was solid, I thought, for that scene.
Oh yeah. No, Bill Burr's become quite an actor. Like, I watched King of Staten Island, and he's really good in it. And it's just like, he can do action, he can do drama, he can do comedy, right? It was great. I hope he comes back. I feel like I heard he was like, well, I haven't been told I'm coming back for season 3, but like, I feel like that now we're starting to see all the things fall into place. It's like, we're like, oh, they were all BSing us. As you know, I mean, we're going to talk about the board meeting shortly, but I love how they announced She-Hulk is happening with Tatiana Maslany, and then like a month ago, she was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
And who was it? The director of Captain Marvel 2, who's doing Candyman, Nia, I can't remember her name, but she tweeted like, oh, look at this random news as a joke, because she's like officially saying now, but like, yeah, news dropped that everybody knew, but you know, it means something when it's official. I will say something about yesterday's investor call, though. When they announced 10 Star Wars shows, and then the movies, I'm still hesitant to buy into it. I believe Andor's happening, obviously. I believe Obi-Wan Kenobi's happening. Mando 3's happening. But, like, okay, I don't want to get rain on anyone's parade right now, Brock, but the Patty Jenkins announcement is great if it happens. I feel like we've been down this road so many times that I don't trust this. They're like, we're doing Rogue Squadron. Okay, you have a name. That's way better than before. You have a concept and a name. Is there a script? I don't think they said anything about a script. It's 2023. That gives you 2 years to make it, which is great. So it's not rushed, which is great. But it also gives you 2 years to not make it. You know, and so that I was so hesitant on that. I'm really excited. And Brock, I know you're a huge X-Wing fan. I know I just jumped ahead, but I know you're a big X-Wing fan. But how, like, when you get Rogue Squadron is going to be a movie, but then you get all these cool shows that they announced. What is going to make me more excited about Rogue Squadron the movie than all these shows that I'm getting on Disney Plus?
That's a good question. Here's one thing I forgot to look up. Did they not? Wasn't it like in the rumor mill that like Patty Jenkins isn't doing the next Wonder Woman? Is that a?
I think it was a rumor. Yeah, I don't know if.
So, because like when I was watching that announcement, I was like, oh, maybe this is why she's not doing it.
Yeah, and I feel like she's getting on. I have no idea, but it seems like Wonder Woman's done. She was probably like, put it on HBO Max so I can get the Star Wars. So Wonder Woman's all done, and hopefully this is her next thing that she's diving into. This is what I'm hoping, because again, Ryan Johnson trilogy, the Benioff and Weiss saga series, what else have we had? We've had so many, like Kevin Feige Star Wars. This stuff, it's like, okay, at least there's a name now and a concept. But then the other part of me is like, but we'll get into them later, obviously. But there were things that they announced. I'm like, well, that sounds. Some of them sounded more cinematic than Rogue Squadron. Like Rogue Squadron sounds like something you could put on Disney Plus. So I'm just like that. Like, this is like, did they go big enough with their next movie? Or are they going to play it safe with their next movie?
Maybe I got this right. Like Taika Waititi is directing the next Star Wars movie.
No, Patty Jenkins doing the next Star Wars movie. Taika Waititi's is in development. So it sounds like instead of their. Remember they had that nonsense plan where they're like, every year you're going to get Star Wars, every other year. And you're like, just freaking make the movies. I think they've finally decided that they're just going to let people make the movies. So I think Patty Jenkins doing it. I feel like, I keep saying I feel like, but I think Taika Waititi has an idea for a movie and they're working on it. But he's got Thor. So he can't do the next one because he's got Thor, Love and Bale and all that. So that's happening. And then he'll probably do the one after and they won't be connected at all. It sounds like the movies will all be separate and the shows are all going to connect, but I don't know if any of that makes sense.
I think there is one guarantee from that announcement of Patty Jenkins is that she can rollerblade like a champion.
Look, I'm excited. I think she did great. Wonder Woman was great. You hear great things about Wonder Woman 2. She clearly loves, her dad was a pilot. She said she loves all that. I'm not doubting any of the skills involved with her at Taika Waititi, but the fact that there's a title makes me more excited, but until I see a frame being shot, I would have felt even better if there was her at Lucasfilm with a concept art of anything. I would have felt better about. But right now it's like, okay, she has a Black Series helmet. Like, I'm trying not to get too excited for that. For the disappearance of that announcement happening.
Yeah, it's good. In keeping with my trend of pausing video and looking at it, with Cassian Andor's sizzle reel, when they got to the wall of concept art, I paused. Like, what's that? And they knew people were going to do it because there's one part where it's blurred out, and they're like, that was all the important information.
That's awesome.
They were smart. They were smart.
They know what's happening. Cassian looks great, by the way.
I mean, that is the thing. It's just like, you can promise the world right now because it's like, I mean, it's like that image of Kathleen Kennedy in front of that. Yeah. I guess it was a LED screen or something of all the logos of what they're about to release.
That'll be our thumbnail for this episode.
Yeah. Like, what up? Like, that was a huge flex. They're like, come on. It's like COVID be damned. Like, we're working. This is happening. Like, this is happening, allegedly.
No, but you know what? I'm selling it a little bit short because there is one factor in all of this that kind of trumps the Johnson and the Benioff and Weiss announcements, and this was an investor's call. So this was the people that are paying for the company to stay afloat. So they're not going to lie to them. But the thing is, like, I think the Patty Jenkins one, and the reason why they had the video was to be like, this is happening. Like, this is going to happen. And I think the Lando announcement was like, of all the one, like it was Lando and the droid still. Well, the droid's probably gonna happen. It's like, but the Lando one, like the Lando one to me is the one where it's like, if any of these aren't gonna happen, it'll be that one. And because they didn't say too much, they could just kind of brush it off. But they made such a big deal with Patty Jenkins that I would hope that it's not brushed off. But again, I when that teaser trailer hits, I'm in.
Yep.
All right, do you want to finish talking about Mando, or are we done with Mando? We moved on.
Oh yeah, let's just keep going. So, I mean, there wasn't a lot of. I mean, there were surprises, but it's like Ahsoka being announced, not a huge surprise. But I love that logo. It looks like the background looks like similar to the episode Rebels with the world between worlds, kind of,
and even similar to the Baby Yoda seeing IROC, like the circular look. Yeah, so it's all fitting into that. The world between worlds, like is making sense for Ahsoka.
Yeah, and like Ahsoka in the name has like that circle thing that might be like her staff. I don't know, from the end of Rebels. I think there's a lot in that logo that, like, in the next coming days or hours, people are going to start making hypotheses about it. Rangers of the New Republic. This is exciting. I was like automatically, okay, this is where Cara Dune's going to go. But here's the thing, like, Gina Carano doing a great job, but they're not giving her a lot of depth still. You know what I mean? They are and they aren't, you know, like.
And they never announced her in that show.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I know, and I don't think you can give her that much depth. I think you surround her with Carl Weathers type actors, people that can hold their own around her, and then let her punch people in the face.
Yeah, exactly. And like, she's doing great. I try not to be critical of an MMA fighter. But yeah, like it was just it's a great character, but at the same note, it was a lot of just sort of like longing stares at people. It's just like, but like that makes this. We've been talking about this. Like, she is a character that could go into a spinoff, but this is a show that she could exist in as a supporting, like a main cast member, but not the main. You know what I mean? An ensemble for sure, right?
Absolutely. We got to say that our top 5 is going to be our top 5 moments from the announcements. So like our top 5 announcements. I really like that one. That in Ahsoka, I love that they take place within the Mandalorian timeline. And then they're gonna come together, apparently, is what it says.
It's gonna be like the Arrowverse, right? Flash, Arrow, Heroes of Tomorrow. So it's gonna be the Mandoverse.
Yeah, the Mando. Well, I wonder if Mando will tie in, or he'll just be like, "I'm done. You guys move on," and what happens. I'm really intrigued by the future of it all. What else was announced during all of the whole?
How can you forget your boy, Newmarket's own? Is it Newmarket or is he from Vancouver?
He lives in Uxbridge, I believe, right now.
Uxbridge. Hayden Christensen's coming back as the Sith Lord. You thought Vader was done. You were wrong.
Huge news. Up until yesterday, I thought I was the only Hayden Christensen fan in Star Wars. I was that over the years. I've noticed more people have been. Yep. But I remember at one point, I've always defended him on this show, and when Aaron and I first started going out, we watched Star Wars, and she thought he was good too, and I was like, this is weird. But everyone hated him, and then Star Wars Celebration 3 years ago for the 40th anniversary, when he showed up, people went ballistic. Yeah, I was like, okay, maybe the tide's turning. I have to say this, and I'm not saying this as a joke, I'm saying this for real though, is I really think they need to, and I know they kind of tried to in Aftermath, but they need to give Ahmed Best a redemption as Jar Jar Binks. I'm not saying this facetiously, I'm saying this genuinely. I think if you throw Jar Jar Binks, an old weathered Jar Jar Binks, in any moment right now, you would redeem that character for all the fans, and Ahmed Best, because there's so many fans now that grew up with him who genuinely love him, and there are so many fans that he entered their lives when they were older and they genuinely hate him, and you have an opportunity now to bring him in and kind of make him who he was, but a little bit more educated and wiser version of him, and maybe you could play it out in a way that would really, really redeem all of the above and just goodwill to everyone. But I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of rumors that now are confirmed. It's just like, wow, I can't believe it's happening. And like you said, like there's like this Lando project. There's this what was it called? The anime anthology.
Visions? Was it Visions?
Visions. Which I was like, oh, that's a Marvel show. I'm like, no, that's
that's what I thought.
That's cool. This Leslie Headland Acolyte, which is gonna occur during the High Republic, like it's just like, wow, there's so many things. And what else? Like, we have a trailer for Bad Batch. We have a
Fennec Shand.
Yeah. Oh, So good.
Yeah, so everything was Visions, Mandalorian, Droid Story, Rogue Squadron, Ahsoka, Rangers of the New Republic, Andor, Obi-Wan, Acolyte, Bad Batch, and then, of course, Willow and Indiana Jones 5.
Yeah. Oh, is that what that, like, Children of Bones was?
Oh,
or
Children of Bones is based on a novel. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's everything that was brought up. The Acolyte stood out for me because it was a show that, we heard that Leslie Headland was working on. She had an idea. She's like Space Samurai and this and that, and we're like, well, I don't know what she's doing, but I'm fine with it. Huh?
It isn't it going to be like female driven? Is that
female driven? Yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron Quinton suggested on Twitter that maybe this has Darth Talon in it.
Ugh. I don't know.
No, I don't know. But the thing is, this is a character who exists that you can bring. I think that this is all new. There won't be anyone you recognize in this.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, no. Well, we keep talking about High Republic, where there's all this concept art of people. Like, can we see these?
I do think we'll get High Republic characters.
Yeah.
But I don't think there'll be no.
Pre-existing.
Yeah, like I don't think Yoda will show up in this show.
Also, I don't want to be
a
social justice warrior, whatever it is. If you're gonna call a show female-driven, I don't know if you should put the over-sexualized Sith Lord from the internet into it.
But that character's not in canon, right? So you could do whatever you wanted. It was just an idea. I threw it out there.
Sure.
But I think we're gonna get all new characters. But my hope for everything High Republic is that they know that they're leading towards the original trilogy, to the Skywalker Saga era, and I hope that you get a little because of that allows that. I'm hoping for little details like that.
Yeah.
That show, when I read that, hold on, I can't remember what it said, but it stood out to me in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
For a number of reasons. Let me find it. I mean, it was almost as exciting as a Chippendale Rescue Ranger movie. Where the hell? I thought I sent you what it said.
You might have. I don't know. There's just been so much information that I can't even keep it all straight in my mind.
The Acolyte is a mystery thriller that will take viewers into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic. So it takes place at the end of the High Republic. And shadowy figures and dark side. And so I'm excited because I love the Force, and I feel like we don't get enough of it. Like, sorry, not in Mandalorian. I'm not saying that. Mandalorian is what it is, but I just got to embrace the Force sometimes, man. Embrace what you have in your sandbox and have fun. And this show could be wild.
Yeah.
That's all I know. I can't say anything else.
Yeah. I've never seen a investors meeting go this viral. Like, it's wild. Like, this is like D23 for announcements and what have you.
I imagine if they had Celebration in August and then they did all this, you'd be like, what the hell did I even bother for?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Now, 2 years from now, Celebration is going to be a lot more fun, right? Like, it's like there's going to be stuff to celebrate at 2022. It's going to be a good time. There's a lot of fun things in there. Andor looked wild, like you said, all the stuff in there. It makes me very excited. They're shooting that right now. They're shooting Obi-Wan in March, supposedly. That's the plan there. It's great. Hayden Christensen's coming back. Do you think you'll hear his voice at all? Like, why? The first thing that came into my head was it kind of annoyed me more that he's not in Rogue One. And not because of Rogue One, just because of where I feel the heads of maybe the higher up who are making the decisions about these movies were back then, and that you want to ignore the prequels, which they all kind of thought were, hazardous to the Star Wars health. And it just, now I'm just like, well, why was he not in that movie? You're having him back to play Vader. Why would he not be in Rogue One? So I feel like we'll get more than just him as Vader.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like, why announce it at all? Why hire him at all if it's just in a mask?
Wasn't he in stilts in Revenge of the Sith when he was Vader? I think he was.
Yeah. but they could get around that if
Oh, yeah.
there's three people being Mandalorian or 2 people being Mandalorian.
Do you think this still? I've noticed Mando's walking has changed this season. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, he's walking weird.
Yeah.
I was like, that's thrown me off like 2 or 3 times in episodes. I'm like, what? That's not how he walks.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, okay, it's not just me. That's good. I thought it was just me.
But like, wow, like you're right. Maybe a lot of these announcements, these things don't actually happen, but like this is big on Disney to be like, we're dropping this much. I mean, maybe you could be like, oh, they're desperate or whatever, but like they could have just announced half of that and it would have been fine. And it's like, it's not just Star Wars. There was Marvel and Disney stuff too. So it's like bang, 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 bang. It's like it's hard to keep it all tagged down. Like,
I would say of all the things announced, the ones that I would be concerned the most about would be Lando. Oh, I didn't even say it. Lando. And then as of recording this right now, it would be Rogue Squadron.
Yeah.
Because I feel Rangers of the New Republic is going to happen because it's Favreau and Filoni. So they're just like, we're doing this. It's happening. We own you. Yeah. Same with Ahsoka. I mean, you'd be dumb not to do Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And then
anything animated.
The animated thing, I think.
Animated is like that'll happen.
Yeah, that'll happen.
The anime thing, and then Bad Batch, of course. Like it's like, oh yeah, that's easy.
Lando is. I'm sure it'll happen. I just like.
Yeah.
Is it old Lando or young Lando? What Lando is it? They were very vague on that. They were just like, Lando. Archie, like just naming, like just throwing names out there. But I do because it was an investor call. I have a little bit more faith in it. But again, I was very excited for the Rian Johnson trilogy, and I never watched Game of Thrones, but I was excited for that thing that whatever they were doing because it would just meant more Star Wars. So I am excited. Do you want to move on to the odds?
Let's do it.
Never tell me the odds.
I don't have my email open, so I don't have the names in front of me. Can you read them all?
I'll read them all. Today's odds are brought to us by Patreon. Thank you, everybody, for supporting us on Patreon. And these patrons who have sent us your top 11 Star Wars rankings, thank you so much. Like I said, it's going to be insane. Executive producer Heidi Feder, Barry Brophy, Dennis Allen, Mary Kristen Nathan, Jeff Wilson, Phil Staniforth, Sooner Thrawn, Scott D, Josh Price, Matt W, Rez, Frank Perkins, Neil Lowry, D Raven Spencer, Gleek Play 1, Automated Joy, Disney Desi, Charlotte, Kayla Davis, Aaron Quinton, Jericho Kane, Girls with Sabers, and the Dead of Nerds. Oh, and Disney Desi has something for us to talk about as well. I'll bring this up after our odds.
Nice.
It has to do with baby Yoda Grogu.
Baby Grogu.
He is the best.
Baby Grogu. Baby Grogu.
First time, every time of the odds, we will get 3 Star Wars series on Disney Plus in 2021.
Sorry, say that again.
We are going to get 3 Star Wars series on Disney Plus in the year 2021.
Any Star Wars that doesn't have to be new.
Mando counts.
Mando counts?
Yeah. Bad Batch, sorry. Live action.
Live action?
Yeah. Because if it's not live action.
I'm going to go 80% because I think they're probably going to have Obi-Wan and Cassian done by the end of the year. Like, it is wild that Mandalorian's getting pushed to a December release, season 3. So, but I'm pretty optimistic. Like, you don't announce this and then just like wait 2 years to actually drop it, right? So I'm gonna go 80%.
I'm gonna go 40. Live
wow.
action. I think we're getting 3: Bad Batch, Cassian, and Mando. But I feel like the following year we'll get 3. That year we'll get Mando, Obi-Wan, and Acolyte.
Yeah.
But I'm fine with being wrong.
Yeah.
Also, all those things they announced. Oh, you know what though? They could throw the New Republic. They could. Oh God, I'm going for it. We'll see though. I hope I'm wrong. I'm fine with it.
Favreau and Filoni work fast, so.
Yeah, they're like, that's a TV screen. Stand in front of it.
Yeah.
What
Oh,
episode?
and did you notice in the Andor sizzle reel, you could see they were in the volume at one point? I'm like,
volume is my favorite. I want a volume in my room.
yeah, absolutely.
Next odd, never tell me the odds that Fennec Shand will appear in multiple series in live action. This does not include bad
100% live action, damn. No, I'm gonna go 100% because like why not? It's easy.
Can you believe this is a character that died last year and we were like, well, she was fine. And now she's become the new Saw Gerrera. They're like, just throw Fennec Shand in there. All right. I'm gonna go 77%. I agree. Why the hell not? Her mask is awesome. It's one of my favorites already. And our final odd today, the odds of Darth Vader revealing his face to Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Will Darth Vader reveal his burnt up, morbid, ashy face to Obi-Wan Kenobi?
From ashy to classy. No, I'm gonna go 100% again. Like, the future is bright, so let's do it.
67% for me. I would love it, but I mean, when he takes his mask off in Return of the Jedi, he dies.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I mean, it's Star Wars. You rewrite it as you go. It doesn't matter. That's the people always get upset. They're like, but it's this or that. It's like, yeah, but it's Star Wars. You rewrite history all the time with Star Wars, and we accept it. Well, we used to accept it a lot more, but now we don't. Boba Fett was never, or Jango Fett was never the stormtroopers.
Yeah.
All right. This is from, I'll keep the Never Tell Me the Odds on, but this is from Desi on the YouTube. On YouTube. She thinks the reason for Frog Lady is to show... Don't you love that? Just Frog Lady. Like, that's it. That's the canon name is Frog Lady. We all just say it and accept it. Frog Lady is to show the importance of carrying on a line. A genetic line. For those who aren't as familiar with the lore, they might be caught off guard to hear a Jedi was allowed to have children for the sake of survival of their species.
Yes.
Okay? And she is calling it now that Baby Yoda is literally Baby Yoda because he is Yoda's son. Grogu is Yoda's son, and that's why you don't see Grogu in Yoda's class with the other younglings is to prevent attachment, and that could explain why he survived the fall of the temple as well.
Yeah, I can get behind this in a sense because that's true. Like that's Cadia Mundi's like background, right? But like this is kind of like the lineage of Rey when we're like she's a Skywalker or she's a Solo. So it's like Star Wars is a family story and it's also about absentee parents. But like, does that makes if Grogu is Yoda's son? That means Yoda is a deadbeat dad that's just like, oh, I'm just gonna go to a swamp for 20 years and never come back.
Unless he thinks his son's dead.
Maybe, but like it's also Yoda. Like, don't you think he could? Oh no, but actually, yeah, that's a good point. He closed himself off from the Force, Grogu. So that's why.
Yeah.
I could get behind it. You could sell it to me if you make it. You don't hurt the reputation of these existing characters.
No, I'm with you on that as well. I mean, the problem too is Luke Skywalker. So many people feel that his reputation was hurt by how he was treated in The Last Jedi. So, it is a slippery slope. I like this idea quite a bit. I think they'll stay away. I don't think you'll ever find out where he comes from. It's just, and I think they are allowed to get away with that because it's the same species as Yoda, where we have literally seen Yoda and kind of Yaddle. Like there's wiggle room there. There's wiggle room there for them to ignore whatever they want in the backstory of this character. And it allows them. But if they are going to do it, again, though, it also would make complete sense if it was Yoda's child, because we haven't seen there. Like no other one of these creatures exists on this planet and this planet in this galaxy of Star Wars. So, who knows? Maybe next season, maybe it's a whole army of Yodas come to save Grogu in the next episode. I don't know.
I would give nothing more to have an episode next season, because it's not going to be next episode, of experiencing what Grogu saw when he was on the Jedi Rock, and then also his conversation with with Ahsoka, like I think it would be really cool that like in the Force you can hear his thoughts or you can hear him speak. Like I think that would be like, or don't have any language at all, and it's a silent episode, but you're totally able to understand what like that would be beautiful. That would be an episode to remember. So
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm down with all of that. I don't think we get next week. You know, next week though, you bring it up. I'm curious the action to dialogue aspect for next week's episode.
yeah,
I know there's going to be we've been spoiled. We know there's a giant lightsaber battle.
yeah. Imagine there wasn't.
Yeah, right. He broke Giancarlo Esposito broke 3 of them in that Baby Yoda scene. Grogu, but so we know that's going to happen probably with the spear and the sphere and
Yeah.
the spear, not the sphere. Although the sphere would be cool too if he just rolls a bowling ball at him.
The sphere.
The spear, but we know that's going to happen. Probably that. Maybe Ahsoka comes back. I don't know. I think with this announcement of her show, though, she's not coming back. I don't think they need to bring her back. They've announced her show. They've done what they needed. So yeah, something's going to come up there. But that'll be fun. Who knows what the end game is and all that. But leading up until that, you think like Moff Gideon might have another spiel like he did last season at the end. Maybe he'll explain something. He might say something to Mando. Maybe Mando learns about his history from Moff Gideon at that point. He's like, just so you know, you think you're doing this, but really, blah, blah. He could really lay him down. Because remember, when we first met Moff Gideon, he was an intellectual, right? He was very smart. This season, we just kind of see him like bopping around. But last season, he knew everything he needed to know about the our heroes. So what do you think the dialogue to action ratio will be next week?
I think it's going to be 60-40 for dialogue. I think we have to have I hope that episode is going to be at least an hour. But I think you would be doing an actor like Giancarlo Esposito dishonor or disrespect if like you don't give him some like monologue or something, because I feel like he's going to be someone that's revealing stuff in the next episode. I could be wrong. I don't know. This Jedi could show up. Like that's the other thing we're kind of forgetting. He goes on this rock and we're like, did he contact someone? Then like take Mando out of it with the spear. Your Jedi fights Moff Gideon. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, that's the thing. We have the spear, and we're all kind of assuming that the spear is going to be this fight now. But he says it's going to. Giancarlo Esposito said it was Vancouver Fan Expo, but he said it's going to. I think he said it was like it's crazy and insane, and you wouldn't believe it or something like that. As cool as the spear sounds, I can believe the spear. Yeah. Right, so who knows? Whatever. I'm not disappointed if it's the spear, but the idea of a Jedi or a Sith coming back is plausible, and I'm curious what will happen. Imagine if it's just Maul comes back. How does it keep coming back? And then tomorrow, Christmas Eve, Disney comes out with a new investors call. Rebels is no longer canon, and they're just they ruined everyone's dream.
Well, shout out to Disney Desi. That was a really good theory.
Great question.
I like that. That was great.
Let us know what you guys think. The thing with Star Wars is, you can say whatever you want, like, oh, it shrinks the universe, it does this, does that, but it's just for fun. And like you said, Star Wars is ultimately about family. And what brings us along for the ride is the understanding of what we're watching. It's the familiarity of it all, and we can never forget that. For the sake of being different and original and new, you can't forget that you are part of something bigger than it. Top five.
Guess what our top 5 is, everyone?
Top 5 moments from Mandalorian season 1 Mandalorian.
Investor meeting. What a night. It was like election time in the States, or like or when sports does that thing where they pick players, drafts. It was crazy. It was like, wow, unbelievable. What's your number 5 in that?
So this was the hardest one top 5 I've done, I think. Now that there weren't that many options, which made it harder. So I was like, I put Ahsoka number 5. I mean, you knew it was coming. I'm excited for it, but what really made me even more excited for it was Favreau Filoni.
Yeah.
In the Mandalorian timeline. And I know that might disappoint some people that it's not this or that, but I think that that's going to get us to Rebels, to the Rebels ending, which is exciting because that's part of it. And she's looking for Thrawn. That information's already out. So we know her series is most likely about her searching for this unknown character, Grand Admiral Thrawn, for the casual fans. It's like she's looking for someone named Admiral Thrawn. That's going to be it. We're probably going to get to learn more about him. And that is very exciting to me. What's your number 5?
Sort of in the same vein, I love this Ahsoka logo. Like, I think there's like so much to unpack just from that. So it's just like, but I want to put it low because like we knew Ahsoka was coming. It was coming, but it's just like, wow, I still can't believe like we have her in live action. Period.
And Rosario Dawson did tweet afterwards when they announced that she quote tweeted Star Wars or Disney Plus or whatever it was. And it said Ahsoka live action coming, and she just wrote Ahsoka! Exclamation mark. So it's nice that she's excited to be back, and it's nice that she is back. My number 4 is Cassian Andor, and I wrote down Andor looks promising. I thought it looked great. I love Rogue One, but I haven't seen it in a little while, and when I watched that sizzle reel, I was like, oh yeah, I really like this.
I was like, oh, in his past he had short hair. I'm like, oh no, that's a clip from actually Rogue One. My number 4 was just Bad Batch trailer. I'm like, wow, Bad Batch.
Yeah, that's
so great.
Do you think that if that happened now, it'd be live action?
Yeah, maybe.
I wonder if they were like, we should have made the final season of Clone Wars in live action. My number 3. This one wasn't on my list, and then somehow made it to number 3. It wasn't on my list, and it was on my list, and it wasn't, and it was. It's Rangers of the New Republic. Again, it has to do with Favreau, Filoni, Mandalorian timeline. I am all in on this timeline. I'm all in on this era, and the reason why, Brock, really is because of the way the Empire is being handled in this show. I love that they don't exist, but they do exist, but they're coming back, but they're probably not going to come back, but they want to. I just love how they're in shambles, but they're so confident. I love that part of the world, and I love stormtroopers.
My number 3 is probably going to be Patty Jenkins rollerblading. That was a well thought out. Like you guys are like, it's like, oh wow, she's really like giving her like her. You're like, this is who I am, but then she's like doing something. You're like, is she taking her pants off? And then you realize she's putting on an X-wing jumpsuit. It's just like, boom! I was like, that's genius. That's good marketing right there.
I hope it's just the story of Luke Skywalker. My number 2, The Acolyte.
Yeah.
At one point, this was my number 1, but I changed it to number 2. The Acolyte is my number 2 because, like I said, that description had me more excited than anything else they announced. I don't know anything about the High Republic. I don't even care about it right now. I do, but I don't. But I love the dark side. Bring it.
My number 2 is I do care about High Republic. I can't believe we're gonna get a live action, allegedly, of a High Republic. So I'm all in. I'm excited. I am actually jazzed to start reading the High Republic stuff.
Oh, I'm gonna read it eventually.
Yeah.
No, I'm not looking forward to it. I just compared to all these announcements, I forgot about it. And my number 1.
I think it's the same thing. 1, 2, 3. Hayden Christensen. Boom. Darth Vader's back. You can't keep him down. He is the OG Sith Lord of your dreams.
Hayden Christensen.
Big ups to Lucasfilm to be like, we can do whatever we want.
Exactly. Well, again, though, I honestly think, Brock, that these decisions that they've been making lately are based on reactions positive reactions to Star Wars from Mandalorian and Clone Wars. And I would even argue Rebels, because if you remember when Disney Plus, before it was launched, they did that poll, and The Simpsons and Rebels were the two things that already pre-existed that people were most looking forward to on Disney Plus. And I think what these series have done better than the sequel trilogy is that appreciation and respect for what's come before and come after. It's made it all feel connected in a way. And like I said, you embrace what's come before. And I think there was a time when Disney bought Lucasfilm where they were ashamed of the prequels. And I think they were afraid to, battle droids. They were afraid of this. They were afraid of that. And then like Rebels was like, that is an entire space station with battle droids. And then they start dropping it. And then Mandalorian season 1, you see the battle droid, and you start to get these little things, then you embrace it, and then you have the Clone Wars show, which a lot of people, I think you're one of them, who credit that for their appreciation more of the prequels. It's preferred to the prequels to a lot of people. And I think they're at a point now when I think this whole company, because under George Lucas, it was George Lucas, but now it's an investor's call, right? Now they're at a point where they're like, okay, we figured it out a little bit more. We understand they're understanding what Star Wars is a lot better, I think. Better than you and I do anyway. But, they've kind of, I think that their feet are wet and they know what they're doing, is what I'm saying. And then now, so there's more confidence and it's more plausible that all these are going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't even think it's all sunk in for me yet.
Did you sleep last night?
Actually, I did have I woke up at random times last night, so I was just like, let's go. Is it time to watch Mandalorian yet?
This was the earliest I've seen an episode this year, by far.
I've watched all of them at 6 a.m. in the dark.
But I mean, also you have a job to go to, and I work from home, so it's
nope. Half the time I don't need to be up that early.
Yeah. I love it. It is tough. Like social media is it's tough, man. And people argue well then stay off. It's yeah, but have some respect. That's how I feel. I don't know. It's 6:01 a.m. You don't need to spoil the ending. But this week, like I said, this week I felt like there was nothing you could spoil this week. Like it just kind of all played out. You knew how it was going to play out. Yeah. It's nothing Bill Burr's back. Yeah, I figured that last week.
Yeah.
Stormtroopers hit stuff. That's a spoiler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun though. Probably my favorite episode since the Egg episode. Same director too. I mean, it's not as deep as the other, but I don't know. This show just keeps snowballing. It's a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Do you want to go back to work now?
Yeah, I do.
All right, let's wrap it up. We did the Scrooge bit, right?
Yeah, we did.
I'm James. He's
Brock.
But on top of that, and more than that, he was always Scum.
Rebel Scum.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.